Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment. I am your host, MJ, and tomorrow is the 2019 NBA Draft, so I figured let's go live tonight and let us preview the NBA Draft. And what a night it will be. Now, unfortunately, I am not sure right now if I will be available to do live coverage tomorrow. Oh, it's so unfortunate. So we'll see. Okay, I'm not going to make any promises on that. You might see me live tomorrow, but just in case I can't, I'm going to try to get everything I have in terms of my thoughts on these prospects out to you tonight, and I'll have my final mock draft up tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for that. In fact, right after I end this stream, I'm going to complete that mock draft, that video, and it will be up tomorrow morning, maybe even tonight, honestly, if I feel so imposed to do so. So there you go, 2019 NBA Draft, and we're going to keep it NBA related. We can move to free agency a little bit, and thank you for the super chat, averge0329. We can move to, the NBA free agency a little bit. We're going to keep it NBA today because basically after like the next month, dude, it's going to be all NFL on this channel. We're going to have plenty of NFL on this channel. So trust me, there's going to be plenty of talk on that. In fact, right now, I was talking about it yesterday. I tweeted this out on Monday. Dude, I'm just so bored, with the finals not being on. I just go back now. I just watch old NFL tape. I was like, damn, it'd be nice if there's a Monday Night Football game on. So I miss football just as much as you guys. We're keeping it NBA related for the next month primarily, and then we'll shift to the NFL. So we have the 2019 NBA Draft, and a very interesting draft. Not more so than other years, but I think any draft is particularly interesting. Unfortunately, we already kind of know what's going to happen in terms of the top three picks, and then from there, it's just interesting to see where players go. And I feel like there's not much buzz around this draft, and whether or not that's deserving, I think is, I guess, fair, because, a lot of these prospects, a lot of them are unknowns, a lot of them aren't guys that have particularly high upsides, but you always need to look out for drafts like these. The NBA draft is so unpredictable. I mean, I'll be honest, okay? I'm going to give my prospect rankings tonight. I'll give you my draft grades and all that. I stink when it comes to evaluating NBA draft prospects, and a lot of people do, especially lately. Like, especially in recent years, man, we stink evaluating NBA draft prospects, and it's not something that's easy to do. Okay, it's easy, to sit on your couch and criticize us, those of us that come on here or come on anywhere, whatever platform, and act like they know what they're talking about. But it's hard. Like, I look at a guy like Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I didn't think he was very good at all at Louisville. He was undersized two guard, like 6'2", 6'3", only shot like 40%. I remember he shot like 40.6%. And you saw, like, yeah, he's a capable, on the ball and off the dribble guy. But, coming off of a 40% shooting year in his second year at Louisville, how is this guy going to be anything more than just like an annoying Dion Waiters at the NBA level? And then all of a sudden, this guy's contending for the All-Star team. You look at a guy like Zach LaVine, doesn't do anything at UCLA, but can jump out of the building, and I'm like, I don't trust this guy. He showed nothing at UCLA in terms of being an all-around basketball player. Comes into the NBA, and he's a borderline All-Star. A guy like Devin Booker, who we knew could shoot. Okay, we knew Devin Booker could shoot, that was no question, but the guy, was he starting for Kentucky? I think he was, but, I mean, he was taking a back seat to Karl Anthony Towns, most surely, and even their other players. I want to say, that was Kentucky, right? I want to say even the Harrison twins were there when Devin Booker was there, and they were doing more than Devin Booker. Like, the NBA draft is hard because we're just looking at these high school players that go from a different game in high school, completely different high school, to a completely different game in college, and then eventually an even more completely different game in the NBA. The levels to that are way more than it is NFL. NFL from high school to college to pros is, I would argue, much less of a transition. although it is still a significant transition. Less of a transition from high school basketball, where, dude, if you're 7 feet, if you're pretty freaking athletic, you'll dominate. And it's hard to distinguish between those guys and who really is the best among them. To college, where a lot of these college coaches try to put you in their stringent systems, and then a lot of talented players will struggle, and you'll say, wow, they're really good out of high school and they struggle in these stringent systems, and maybe they need to go to the NBA, well, they'll be able to play more of their one-on-one game, right? It's just tough, the NBA draft. So, look, we've overrated guys like, look at Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker. Number 1, number 2, ha! Are you kidding? Oh my God, Jabari Parker is falling out of the league, okay, now, and Andrew Wiggins, no one really wants, right? He's just an overpaid guy that just shoots a lot of shots, doesn't rebound, doesn't assist, doesn't do anything. Although I will argue for that draft, I was right. I did say that Joel Embiid was a better prospect than both of them if healthy. I did have that. So that's one of the few real NBA draft takes I've had. But look, I liked Josh Jackson coming out. He stinks. Lonzo Ball I didn't love, but I had him over Darren Fox. That's an L for me. It's just hard. So with that said, we're going to do our best. So we're going to start this program with me giving you my top 10 NBA draft prospect rankings. Okay, that is how we're going to start this broadcast today. And then we will transition to, I think after that, what should we do? We should do like predictions, I guess, any predictions, and I'll go into the other prospects that I've watched. I've watched about 18 prospects in total, and I'm just not going to go much deeper than that. I'll just look up, basic and simple synopses for the other players just to get a good grasp. I don't really need to go that deep. In this NBA draft, it's just, well, there's only 60 players anyway, right? So, for the NFL, we have 7 rounds. We only have 2 rounds, 60 players. So I don't think there's that much needed. Yes, there will likely be, some, player that falls through the cracks. He goes in the 20s or the 30s and the 40s and ends up being good. When that happens, let me know, right? Tell me who that is, but I don't feel like I really need to go much deeper than that. I'm sorry, but that's what I've learned when it comes to the NBA draft. When you start analyzing too much, that's when you really start to overthink yourself and you cause yourself a lot of problems. So with that said, we're going to go, should we go 1 through 10 or 10 through 1? Honestly, let's just go 1 through 10. Normally I build up the list and all of that, but this is not like one of those, I guess like high production videos that I would normally make and do that. So we're just gonna go 1 through 10. I'll give you my thoughts on the player, the ranking, of course, my prospect grade for the player, and my prospect grades. Oh, I should probably put that in the description box. I'll link that in the description box, but I'm going to do that after I'm done with the live coverage. But it'll make sense. I'll explain the grades and what it means as I'm going along here. We'll also move on to pro comparisons. Pro comparison is another thing that we'll do, and that will be it. Let me see if I can set up. Yeah, so I will include the ticker. And I'm going to have to change this. I still have the stats from the last game. And I'll have to structure this in a certain way. So we're going to start with the number 1 overall prospect to me in this upcoming 2019 NBA draft. And it has to be Zion Williamson. That is right. Zion Williamson is absolutely the number 1 prospect in this 2019 NBA draft. He's an absolute beast. He's an absolute stud. This is a guy that is sitting at, 6'6", 6'7", like 6'6" and a half, let's say. 285 pounds, an absolute monster. Also very fluid, a guy that can handle the ball, bring the ball up the court. You don't want him to play point guard or anything, but he's a capable passer. And, he's just going to dunk on everyone in and out of his way. And he's going to be a bona fide and perennial all-star at the next level. The real question with Zion Williamson for me is he going to be a God-tier player? Okay, and that's the question to me. Is he going to be the next LeBron James, the next Dwayne Wade, the next Kobe Bryant level player? And now I'd even put Kawhi Leonard in that range to where they are, basically, if you have them, you can build a championship team around them. Okay, that's pretty much. You're going to need to get other players for sure, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty damn sure this guy's going to win a title. That's the question. I don't have him in that God tier, okay? I don't have him in that LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan tier. Those are the best players we've seen over the past 20 years, by the way. There's nothing wrong with being in that tier. And that's all I have in that tier. right? Or maybe Stephen Curry, but I'd also put in that tier. But then that's it, okay? After that, that's all I have in that tier. Then the next tier, okay? The next tier we have James Harden, Anthony Davis, where, okay, they can be the best player on the championship team. I do believe that, but you're going to have to get someone else within that tier on their team in order to win. Okay, so they're not going to be a one-man show, and they're not going to be a number one with a pretty good number two. No, they're going to have to be a number one with a guy right on their level in order to win. And, you know, more and more, that's pretty much the case. Like Kevin Durant, who, by the way, I put in that God tier. Even he needed help. So I think he's just going to be under that Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade tier. He's going to be more like an Anthony Davis, you know, James Harden level tier to me. That's the tier where he's going to be in. I think he's going to be a Blake Griffin on steroids. I compare him to Blake Griffin and Charles Barkley. Blake Griffin on steroids. So if Blake Griffin came on the league and he was able to like do the stuff like Zion, just be so physically imposing and dunk on everyone and just be such a big force and actually had more of a three-point shot. Blake Griffin now has a great three-point shot, but coming in he had no three-point shot, right? So Zion is already more advanced than Blake Griffin was coming into the league when it comes to that three-point shot. That's where I have Zion. So this is a great piece to have, but I don't think he's going to be that LeBron tier, and that's fine, right? I only put like 6 players in the past 10 years in that tier. That is absolutely fine. He's going to be in that next tier, that Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis, not in terms of play style, but in terms of what you can expect in terms of their impact. Yes, Anthony Davis tier makes absolute sense, but make no doubt about it, Anthony Davis wasn't winning nothing in New Orleans by himself, and I don't think Zion's going to win anything alone either. You're going to have to put pieces around him, and they're working on that right now. So my prospect grade for Zion Williamson, we're going to give him a prospect grade of 93, and then pro comparison for him, as I said, Blake Griffin mixed with Charles Barkley, and also some Julius Randle in him as well. All right, so there we go. First, we have Zion Williamson. Number 2, we have my boy Ja Morant. All right, Ja Morant out of Murray State comes in at number 2 on my prospect rankings. And this is a guy coming out of Murray State, a guy that's probably the best passer in this draft class. Definitely at the top of the draft is the best passer in this draft class. A guy that burst onto the scene. You know, you saw him in the NCAA tournament leading Murray State against Marquette. A guy that can get his teammates involved, a triple-double threat. And, you know, still also being able to be a knockdown three-point shooter at the stage, still developing in that area. But a guy that, you know, wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school, but has worked hard, improved, you know, tremendously from his freshman year to his sophomore year. I expect that, you know, continued improvement from him moving forward. And I think he's going to put in the work and be a great franchise player, most likely for the Memphis Grizzlies. So I really like Ja Morant. My questions with him, really, he's actually pretty damn complete. Now, defensively, he has his issues. He could put on some weight. And I question, you know, I love guys that come from the bottom and they work their way up. But it's always a question, you know, whether or not the next level will be too much for them. Because this is a guy, again, 2 years ago, wasn't a highly recruited high school prospect. And he's going to go from that to the NBA and then be a damn good NBA player. There's always, you know, some concern for me about that. It's just safer, you know, at least it feels safer to, like, better than a guy like Zion Williamson, who has faced the best of the best since he was, like, 5 years old, has been tested and tested and tested, as opposed to a Ja Morant, who's a bit of a Cinderella. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be a great player, and that's why ultimately I give him a prospect grade of 90, okay, which again is that same tier, right? That's the tier of players that fall just under, you know, that LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, God tier, right? This is a great tier of a prospect, and I compare him a lot to 2 men, mainly Russell Westbrook, who, you know, we all see the passion that Russell Westbrook has, and the passion in which he comes on a daily basis to each NBA game. And you know what? I also see some Steve Francis in him. And this is a bit of a throwback. And, if you never watched Steve Francis, that's unfortunate. So you don't really understand this comparison. But I see a lot of Steve Francis in John Morant as well. So we have Zion Williamson, number 1, and John Morant, number 2. Number 3, we have R.J. Barrett. Now, R.J. Barrett is a guy that I still believe might end up being the best prospect in this entire draft. This is a guy that, again, unlike John Morant and more like Zion Williamson, has been battle-tested since his youth. His godfather is Steve Nash. He grew up in Canada. He's been in and around all the big high school, events. He's been, just nurtured to be an NBA player since birth. A guy that can drive in is so offensively skilled, but still has a lot of growth as well. I mean, I still think he needs to develop a more consistent shot. He was a streaky three-point shooter at Duke. Free throw shooting right now is not where it needs to be right now. It's in the 60s. It needs to get to the 70s at least. And that's shocking coming from a guy that's the godson of Steve Nash. You're surprised that Steve Nash didn't tease this guy had hit free throws consistently. But, he's going to be a guy that I think also needs to improve his catch and shoot, but he can take off the dribble, he can do a lot of things, he can take it to the rim, and he has a lot of potential moving forward. So he's definitely behind John Morant, because John Morant just has this ridiculous upside. He's already, such a prolific passer and such an excellent passer, gets his teammates involved, whereas R.J. Barrett's more of like a one-man show, and, that's a nice compliment, if you need that on your team. But I really don't think he's ever going to be that guy. But I think he definitely can be, and don't sell that short, because he's a guy that I can honestly see developing into a James Harden. But there's some development that has to be had there, and only saying 1 year in college, I can't put him in that 90-plus tier. But I do really like John Morant. So ultimately, I'll have John Morant at a score of 87. R.J. Barrett at a score of 87 as a prospect grade. And my pro comparison for him, I had this written down. I compare him a lot to DeMar DeRozan. And that is if he never really gets this shot improved, which right now, he actually has a lot of comparisons to DeMar. How do you spell DeRozan? DeRozan. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan. A guy that never really became a knockdown shooter. I mean, he's definitely a capable shooter right now, and he's definitely a scorer, and he will contribute in terms of that, but still not a great defender like R.J. Barrett at this stage. So the question is, can R.J. Barrett, continue his improvement to being better than DeMar DeRozan and instead be like a James Harden? Perhaps, but I didn't see enough in college to really indicate that. So that's why he falls just short. So number 4 on my prospect list, we have Darius Garland out of my school, Vanderbilt. And honestly, I did not love Darius Garland this year at Vanderbilt, but only saw him for 4 games, and he got injured in his 5th game. And, I have some questions about him and his maturity, but the more I watched his tape and even went back to high school, because, again, we're talking about guys who only played 1 year in college. If you really want to get a good deep dive on these players, you got to go back to high school to see a lot of their tape. Look, Darius Garland is just a knockdown shooter, and that is just so valuable in today's NBA. And, it's just something that's just so important to have. Yes, he's skinny. Yes, he still has to develop his body. Yes, he has a lot of things to show. But that step back, jumper that he has off the dribble, it's just dangerous. And I see this hit time and time again by a guy like D'Angelo Russell, who I absolutely compare him to. Now, D'Angelo Russell is taller. Okay, I understand that. D'Angelo Russell is a lengthy player, 6'5" at the point guard position. Outside of that, they look very similar to me. Not great passers. D'Angelo Russell's a better passer because you can see over the defense, whereas Darius Garland's only 6'2" and can't. But in terms of being a step-back, three-point shooter threat that can end up one day averaging like 21 points per game and potentially making the All-Star team if he plays in the East, that's a guy that I really see in Darius Garland, but he's never going to be good defensively, ever. I mean, he has agility, so he can do some things. He can get some steals, but he didn't even show that in college. He didn't, perform well statistically in terms of, like, steals or blocks or anything. And in terms of rebounding, he can get a couple, but he's not going to be a great rebounder or a great assist player. But look, we really love D'Angelo Russell's play this season. So I think he's going to be just under D'Angelo Russell. I think Russell's always going to be better than Darius Garland. Don't get me wrong. He's the worst version of D'Angelo Russell. But just seeing, what D'Angelo Russell was able to do this year, only being 21, I think there's a lot to like about Darius Garland moving forward. And he's going to be a very nice piece for a team one day. Hopefully he's going to be a playoff contending team. So I don't think he's going to be, the star player for a championship team. Absolutely not. But he can be a very, very good starter and potential all-star one day. So I like Darius Garland as number 4. And yes, I only put him about a point below R.J. Barrett, because he's a better offensive player in terms of three-point shooting, definitely than RJ Barrett right now. Barrett's a much better finisher, but Darius Garland can finish. He's not a dunker, but he can finish at the rim. I mean, he shot over 50% field goal percentage. 41% of that was from three, but he shot very well in and around the rim. So I'm a big fan right now of Darius Garland. I think he has his issues, but defensively and everything. But with the NBA right now, it doesn't matter as much as it used to, right? We used to really care for two-way players, but now, dude, if you're able to hit, three-point shots consistently, and at the clip Darius Garland was in college 41%, you're going to have a home in the NBA. So Darius Garland comes in at number 4. Number 5. Okay, so this is where things get interesting. I have DeAndre Hunter. Now, DeAndre Hunter is like the perfect and quintessential player for this draft. He does a lot of things well. He has a high, floor, which we like, but a low upside. So this is a plug-and-play type guy, a guy that, if you just need someone to just be a starter for you moving forward, we like this guy. But I also don't want to completely discredit his upside. I do think there's a good amount of upside within him. So, he's a pretty lengthy forward, standing at about 6'7", I believe. Played for Virginia, was a big part of why Virginia went from being bounced out in the first round a year before to then winning the national championship this year. Did a great job guarding Jarrett Culver, okay, in that final game, which is why I have him ranked over Jarrett Culver today. And shows a lot of improvement. My problems with him is, we want to compare him a lot to Kawhi Leonard and OG Anunoby and those type of players. He doesn't rebound well. He doesn't pass well. And he's not a guy that can take off the dribble and do a lot of things in terms of that. So his offensive upside is definitely limited. So I just think he's just a good starter to have. I just don't see any star potential here. Maybe if he continues to improve and he does some things I just didn't see in college at all. But I just don't think so. Which is why, although I have him ranked this high because I just think he has such a high floor, if I'm a team like Cleveland, there's no way I'm taking DeAndre Hunter over Cameron Reddish, and we're about to get into. There's no way in hell, because we don't need this. Like, it's cute. You know who would need DeAndre Hunter? Like, if the Celtics were up here, okay, like the Celtics or, some sort of, like, playoff contending team, the Dallas Mavericks could use, like, a DeAndre Hunter right now. You playoff contending teams could use him. Not the players, not the teams at the top of the draft that are just looking for real starters to impact and change their teams, right? So, unfortunately, he just falls here. And there is, to me, a significant drop-off between Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter. I only have him at an 82. So, you see the drop-off there. But I think there's a lot of things to like. And, I compare him to DeMarre Carroll, a lot to DeMarre Carroll, and also some Thaddeus Young in him. They're good starters. I mean, don't get me wrong. But, you just might want to, if you're really trying to get a good player out there, you might want to look elsewhere if you're really trying to make an impact and have an impactful draft. So there we go. We move on to number 6. And then here I have Cameron Reddish. So this is, there are two polar opposite sides to this draft. There isn't a lot of NBA drafts. So we have the guys that should have done more in college and disappointed, have all the physical tools and all that, but just didn't, show up in college. And the guys like DeAndre Hunter who, okay, they showed up in college, but, what's their upside? Is their upside there? No, not really. So you have to decide which route you're going to go. So now we get into Cameron Reddish, who I like. Now, he has a lot of issues, okay? This guy shot, 40%? I want to say he shot 40%. Maybe he was 35. I think he actually shot like 35% from the field in college. Now, he was shooting a lot of three-point attempts, all right? He shot 30% from three, which is not great, and could not finish at the rim to save his life despite being a lengthy guy, 6'8", wingspan similar to that of Paul George, height, the exact height of Paul George. He looks like Paul George. Nice, better shooter than Paul George coming out of college for sure, even though he only shot 30% out of Duke. But, man, he can't finish in traffic right now. He can't finish at the rim. Defensively, he has a lot of lapses. He doesn't, use that length to his advantage consistently as much as he should. Is this a frustrating player right now? There's a lot of upside here, though, because he killed it in high school. I mean, he really did. He was a great high school prospect. There was a reason why. I want to say he was ranked 3rd in the entire high school class, at least by a lot of, national leaders. I'm not going to say every leader had him ranked 3rd, but a lot of them, everyone had him top 5. Cameron Reddish was a great prospect at high school. And then just playing with Zion and RJ Barrett, he took a backseat. He didn't do enough. Now, that's fine, right? You can make that argument and that defense for him. But my question is that a good thing? Because you're going to draft this guy, and he's not going to be the best player for you, hopefully. If he's the best player for you, then you have a problem. So he's going to take a back seat. Let's say Cleveland. Like, I think Cleveland should take Cam Reddish. I really do. But let's say Cleveland takes him. He's going to be behind Kevin Love and Colin Sexton in the pecking order. So is he once again going to take a back seat and not do enough and not do as much as he should? That's a question for me. But then to me, you move Kevin Love, you have Colin Sexton and Cam Reddish, and you just build off of that. So I just think the upside with him is just too high. Being a 6'8 guy with his length that can shoot the way he can, it's just so enticing for me. And again, I've just noticed in the NBA draft, you just sometimes really have to bet on guys that just have this much damn talent, even though they can't do anything. Giannis Antetokounmpo couldn't play basketball. Okay, he really could not play basketball coming out of Greece. He was so raw. He had so much to work on. But guess what? You give him 4 or 5 years, and then all of a sudden, dude, he's an MVP candidate. He's going to win MVP this year. So I compare him to Paul George and Andrew Wiggins. And that's not to say that Andrew Wiggins is his low mark, because he could be a complete and utter bust. Okay, I just couldn't think of another player that has this kind of length that I could really compare him to in terms of play style. But make no doubt about it, Cameron Reddish could be an absolute bust. And this Andrew Wiggins is not the low side for him. That's just in terms of play style. This is just a play style thing, these pro comparisons. So we'll see. I will bet on him if I'm Cleveland, because y'all ain't got nothing else to lose. But he's a scary prospect. So number 7, we have Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. And I'm not high on Jarrett Culver, right? A lot of people have him ranked number 4. You know, he had his issues finishing in traffic. He had his issues in the tournament playing against very talented teams. That concerned me. 3-point shot, very streaky. Only shot 30% this season overall. And shot poorly in the tournament. Got shut down by DeAndre Hunter. Now, unlike DeAndre Hunter, what I like about him is he contributes on the board. Had about 6 rebounds a game. Had about 3.5 assists per game. So he's going to give you rebounds, going to give you assists. Defensive effort is actually decent, and he has some okay length to him as well. So I think he's going to be a starter in this league. I just don't think he's going to be a very good one. And I compare him to Chris Middleton and Evan Turner, right? And he could really end up being Evan Turner. So definitely look out for that. And I give him a grade of 78. So I do think there's even a big drop-off between Cam Reddish and Jarrett Culver. But, you know, he's a player that I'm just not really afraid about him really proving me wrong. I mean, he really could end up being a decent scorer in this league. But I look at, you know, recent shooting guards to come out like Jamal Murray and Buddy Hield that have had a lot of success. And he's just not like those guys. Yeah, I'm pretty confident Jarrett Culver's only going to be an okay player at the next level. And even though I only have him ranked 7, there are players I would take over him if we have a better need at that position. And we're going to get the teams and what they should do in a minute. So then we move on to number 8, and I have my boy, Rui Hachimura. Okay, Rui Hachimura from Gonzaga, from the country of Japan. I'm a big Rui Hachimura fan. I'm sure you haven't seen him ranked this high, and that's absolutely fine. I give him the same prospect grade as Jarrett Culver, and I compare him to 2 men, and this might surprise some of you, but I compare him a lot to Aaron Gordon, okay, and Paul Millsap, okay, a lot of comparisons to those 2 men. So, Rui Hachimura, okay, again, a guy, again, out of Japan, has improved consistently in his time at Gonzaga, humble kid, smart kid, improving basketball IQ. Now, I want him to rebound better, okay, per 36 minutes, I think he only came down with about 7 rebounds, which is not enough for him. But he was a prolific scorer for Gonzaga, at least per 36 minutes. I think he averaged like 23 points per game per 36 minutes. A guy that shot very well, improved 3-point shot, continues to improve. And in this draft with guys that I question their motivations, like Cam Reddish, we're going to get to Romeo Langford later, I don't question Rui Hachimura. This guy's going to give it his all. He's going to continue to work and improve and everything. I love young, humble Japanese kids. I do, okay? And there's something to that, people. And this guy can play. Make no doubt, if he can play too, very efficient offensively. He's going to come into a system and fit in well to me. Rui Hachimura comes in at number 8. Number 9, this will surprise a lot of you. I got Bol Bol. Now, this is where things get scary again. And I give him a prospect grade of 77. Bol Bol is just scary as all hell. But I'm going to give his production, which was insane, so much credence and, so much really like credibility as to why I'm giving him this ranking. I mean, the guy averaged, I want to say, 23 points per 36 minutes at Oregon and 11 rebounds. That's insane. And like 3.5 blocks. So he's blocking shots. He's hitting three-pointers. Dude, this guy hit some magical and difficult three-pointers at Oregon for the Oregon Ducks. Watching him on the court was insane. Now, offensively, he has a lot of things to like, okay? His post game isn't great, but because he's such a prolific outside shooter, it's fine. And some people have a question about his slow release. I mean, sure, that's fair, but I think he's going to be just fine in terms of that. Now, defensively, yeah, he's ass, right? He's going to get bullied by, the bigger man, the NBA. A guy like Anthony Davis will absolutely eat to get this guy, but my thing is, and this question's against his effort and everything, I have to sit in a room and talk to him, and I can't, right? I'm sitting here on YouTube.com. I can't do that. I would talk to this guy, see if he really wants to play basketball, see if he really wants to live up to his father, and go down this road. If so, all right, tomorrow we're going to McDonald's, we're going to Burger King, we're going to get some meat in you, right? We got to get some meat on Bol Bol. We got to sustain that. We got to get him heavier. We got to teach him how to be stronger defensively. But, man, I just look at his three-point knock. I have not seen a 7-2 player as fluid as him coming down hitting three-pointers, except for probably one guy who I'm about to compare him to, and that's Kristaps Porzingis. Offensively, he looks like Kristaps Porzingis to me, and I also compare him, though, to his father, Manute Bol, who was mainly just a role player, okay, and a guy that kind of fizzled out. So, there's the best of both worlds there, and I remember watching Kristaps Porzingis, and this is a guy that I did not have ranked high enough. Right? Remember, everyone was low on Kristaps Porzingis because they shared a lot of the same weaknesses. They were weak inside defensively. There were questions about whether or not they can sustain NBA season, which Kristaps Porzingis is actually, had some injury problems himself. But, looking back, he might be one of the best players from that draft class, right? So that's maybe even the best if he's healthy. That's the thing about Kristaps Porzingis. So I think there's a lot to be afraid about when it comes to Bol Bol in terms of the good and the bad. But I have him ranked number 9, man. I just look at that production in college, and he was just absolutely insane. And this guy can just knock down three-pointers. And standing at 7'2", with like I think we're at a 7'8" wingspan, maybe 7'6" wingspan. It's just insane, and that's just why I have him ranked so high. And then at number 10, I have another high upside guy that scares the hell out of me in Romeo Langford out of Indiana. Now, I like this guy, and I really do like this guy. And I have him ranked, again, the same ranking as Bol Bol. And I might take him over Bol Bol. It just depends. Like, if I'm a team, I just have to sit there in a room and have to talk to both of them. But Romeo Langford, a lengthy two-guard, okay, standing at 6'6", a guy that I want to say wingspan is 6'11 and a half, so good lengthy wingspan there. Finishing in traffic was showing you the ability to do that using his length. Could use some more explosion and, definitely have some more finesse at times, but definitely can show you can finish at the rim. And he was streaky from 3, but he overall shot well from 3. And you saw that even back in high school, he was known as a big shooter, and I know that's going to translate moving forward. His effort waned as the year went on. He has some injury problems as well. I think this is a guy that's going to do well in the NBA. I really do. I really like Romeo Langford. I think he's going to be a starter in this league with even some all-star potential in him. And again, in the NBA draft, man, I think sometimes you just got to bet on guys like this. You could sit there and you can draft like Luke Kennard, right, who the Detroit Pistons drafted, in the middle of the first round, safe guy. But a lot of those guys don't end up playing. But sometimes you just got to bet on upside, which is why I have a guy like Bol Bol ranked up here. And it's why I have Romeo Langford up here. And I compare him a lot to a guy like Bradley Beal and also having some Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in him. Okay, so Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Bradley Beal, he could end up only being Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a guy that, he's a starter, but doesn't really rebound all that well. But he's gonna rebound better than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He has better wingspan, better length, so I'm not really worried about that. But, not being a great enough passer and just not being a very great overall and around player, yeah. But I look at the length, I look at his agility. I think he should be a good defender at the next level as long as he improves his effort and gets good coaching. And the offensive potential is there. So I have Romeo Langford top 10. And I know a lot of people don't, and that's fine. I have Romeo Langford top 10. I almost consider having a number 9 over Bol Bol, and I have the same prospect grade. So you just have to sit down with both of them and figure out who likes basketball more. And also check on Bol Bol's foot. I didn't mention Bol Bol, but he has a foot injury. We've seen big men in their foot injuries and what can happen with that. So That's my top 10. So from there, I'm just going to give some quick thoughts on some other players that I did not have in my top 10, and I will briefly explain why I did not. So, honorable mentions, Brandon Clark. I like Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga. Nice shot blocker, but only saying at 6'8", he's going to be, as good of a shot blocker the next level. Probably not, which is why I did not have him ranked that high. But I'm looking out for him, and I think he's going to be a nice, solid player. Will he be a starter, though? I'm not sure. But he could end up being like a Draymond Green. So I'm definitely looking out for him. I like him. I have him ranked 11, I'd say, for sure. Jackson Hayes. I like Jackson Hayes. Now, I put him over, I put him under, these risks, like Bol Bol and Romeo Langford. But if you just want a safe guy and you need a center, take Jackson Hayes. Because I'll guarantee that Jackson Hayes is going to be a starting center in this league. I can't guarantee that about Romeo Langford or Bol Bol. I can't. Even Rui Hamatura. Jarrett Culver. I think someone says I'm sleeping on Jarrett Culver. I don't even know if Jarrett Culver is going to be a starter in this league. I know Jackson Hayes will be, but he's just going to be an okay starter. A guy that very good shot blocker, but can't rebound well, which is so shocking at 6'11 and a half. A guy that can rebound well is very shocking, very bizarre. Only had about 7 rebounds per 36 minutes in Texas. Cannot shoot. So he's not offering you anything in terms of three-point shooting and mid-range shooting. And for centers now in the NBA, that's lame, right? So at his best-case scenario, he could be like a Steven Adams. And that's cool. Like, we like Steven Adams. That's all right. So I will not blame any NBA player. And again, these prospect rankings, like my big board, the way I do my big board if I was a general manager, like I may have them ranked in a certain way, but on draft night, I'm not afraid to take a player ranked lower. I know a lot of people say stick to the board, but it just depends on like my ranking and what I'm giving you is like just in terms of like best players to me. Okay, like best players to me, combination of yes, upside potential, all that, but just best players to me. But then as a team, you may feel like taking a risk or not taking a risk, and that matters in the NBA in terms of your team and what you need. And it really matters in the NBA because you only have 5 starters, you only have 12 players. In the NFL, sure, go ahead and take best player available and live with that. With 52-man roster, that's fine. When you're building a team of only 5 men, each of those 5 men that you bring in, it matters. It's a big decision, and before you bring in a player, you really need to consider it because it's going to change your entire team. You can't just sneak in, a point guard and just hope for the best. Whereas in the NFL, you can sneak in a wide receiver, you can sneak in a cornerback, you can sneak in a defensive line. It doesn't really matter. It matters in the NBA. You can't just sneak in an extra wing if you don't need a fucking wing, right? So that's why I'm not afraid to take players low on the big board. So a guy like Jackson Hayes, I think he's going to be a starting center in this league. Is he going to be better than Steven Adams? No. He's going to be like Willie Cauley-Stein? Probably. He's going to be like Willie Cauley-Stein, but a worse rebounder. So if you want that, go ahead. But even the Kings are in love with Willie Cauley-Stein right now. So just be prepared for that. Sekou Demboya, who I believe is from Ghana. I like Sekou. I just didn't get enough tape on him. I don't really know how good he is, but he's fluid, and I just don't know. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a big, expert on these international players. I don't know. There's a lot to like there. If you feel comfortable taking him, go ahead. I'm not going to bash anyone for taking Sekou Demboya. And then Kobe White. Not in love with Kobe White. I think he's just another, good college point guard that can score a decent amount, but I didn't see anything to really say he's that special. Only shot 42% at North Carolina. And I could be making a crucial mistake here because I said the same thing about Donovan Mitchell coming out of Louisville. And he ended up just killing it in the league. But I really just don't see it with Kobe White. I think he's just an average guy that's probably going to come off the bench in the NBA and provide some nice bench scoring. But starting point guard, I don't think so. Maybe, but definitely not going to be an all-star level player. And I put players above him that I think could be even like a Romeo Langford. So there you go. Those are my honorable mentions. Any other player I really want to mention here? Nasir Little, he's okay. I'm actually interested in Nasir Little, and I think I'd rather bet on him than like a Kobe White, to be quite honest with you. He didn't play much in North Carolina, and I like to talk to Roy Williams on an NBA team and try to figure out why, but averaged 9 rebounds per 36 minutes, sitting at only 6'6", physical player. I think he has a lot of upside. I like P.J. Washington. I think he's going to be a starting power forward in the NBA. Not a great one, but a guy that's continuing to improve his outside shot. So I like P.J. Washington as well. just missed out on my top 10. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the NBA draft prospects. Those are my top 10 NBA draft prospects, pro comparisons, prospect grades, and all of that. From there, what should we move on to? Predictions. We'll do predictions. Now, again, I have my mock draft come out tomorrow, so I want to get into like specific picks necessarily. Well, I'll get into a little bit of that, but we won't spend too much time on this. How about that? Because I'll have a mock draft coming out anyway. So we already know Zion number 1 to the New Orleans Pelicans, and I'll definitely do post draft like grades or something if I don't go live for it. So we'll definitely do that. We also have number 2, John Morant to the Memphis Grizzlies, and they traded Mike Conley today. I'm going to get into that in a second, actually, after these predictions. Number 3, this is where things are getting interesting now. So apparently, the New York Knicks are considering they're considering taking Darius Garland over RJ Barrett at number 3. Now, as you saw today, I have RJ Barrett over Darius Garland, and I'm pretty confident in that. I only have like 1 point separating the two, but I'm pretty confident in that. So I would just stick with RJ Barrett. The only case I would take Garland over Barrett is if I know like I have enough wing players, I have enough scorers. We don't need another scorer. We don't need RJ Barrett. We need Darius Garland at the point guard position. But that's not the case for the New York Knicks. The only thing that would make sense is if they know Kevin Durant's coming, or at least they really presume, and they just want to have a point guard next to Kevin Durant, sure. But Darius Garland, although I like him, it's going to take, I think, at least 3 to 4 years before he's an all-star level player. Not even I think. It's going to. Okay, at least 3, and I'd say 4 or 5. So that doesn't make sense to me. So maybe they really think Garland's a better player. He's definitely a better shooter. Okay, he's definitely a better three-point shooter and everything. But Barrett has more defensive potential, better finisher at this point, better, honestly, just as good as a passer because Darius Garland can't really see over the defense and wasn't a very willing passer at Vanderbilt. But again, he has that step-back shot that you might fall in love with, and I've fallen in love with it. So I wouldn't completely hate it, but I wouldn't do it. Look, RJ Barrett, he's the one that's been born and bred for this. I would trust RJ Barrett over Darius Garland for sure, but we'll see what they ultimately do. Number 4, we have the New Orleans Pelicans who are looking to trade their pick, and I do believe this pick will be traded. And for my mock draft, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to stick with the Pelicans. I think that's the best move. Plus, draft trades aren't even official in the NBA. So, the night of, so I could just go ahead and leave them in the picture, and then we'll see whoever trades for it. If they keep it, let's just have that conversation because it's an easier conversation than trying to figure out who's going to trade for the damn thing. If they keep it, I believe they should take Darius Garland because I'm not a fan of Lonzo Ball long term. I think he can be a starter for you, but for the New Orleans Pelicans, look, if you're going to want to be a championship team, okay, and hopefully that's what you want, right? You're going to need another star next to Zion. I said this, right? And I believe this. You're going to need another guy next to Zion Williamson. This is what you're going to need. Zion Williamson is no LeBron. He's close, but he's no LeBron James. And even LeBron James needs to start next to him. Okay, so you're going to need that. Lonzo Ball is not going to be that. He's just not going to be that. Brandon Ingram, although I love him, and I think he's going to be an all-star player, he's not going to be the level of player that Zion Williamson is going to need to get to the next level. But Darius Garland, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson, that trio down the road, and it's going to be a road. Like, we're talking like 2025, we're talking 6 years probably down the road. But that could be a championship trio. I really do believe that could be a championship type trio. And I would take Darius Garland. Now, if you want to take Johnny Hunter, fine. But, okay, he would play the 3 off of the bench. Like, are you really trying to take a bench player? He's not starting over Brandon Ingram tomorrow. The only way he starts is if you decide we're starting Jrue Holiday at the point guard. We're putting Ingram or Hunter at the 2, and then the other one at the 3. And then you're bringing off Lonzo Ball off the bench. Then you should have just took Darius Garland. So I think Darius Garland is the pick to me. If they take Hunter or Culver, it just really wouldn't make much sense to me. Because you're just going to be moving Lonzo Ball to the bench. And if you're going to move Lonzo Ball to the bench, you might as well take Darius Garland. Okay, and move Lonzo Ball to the bench. And then you have your real point guard, your true point guard, your point guard of the future. Because Jrue Holiday, to me, should not be the long-term future point guard for the Pelicans. I talked about this extensively, not only in my Anthony Davis video, but my podcast as well. Drew Holiday can't stay healthy. He's getting older. He is getting better, but he's getting older. Just move on from Drew Holiday. So I think they should make that move. I'd be all in on Darius Garland. I think Garland, Zion, and Brandon Ingram could be a hell of a trio. And you have plenty of picks down the road as well. Because free agents aren't going to New Orleans unless if Zion really does a lot of things and they become a really exciting team, and they definitely can. But I just wouldn't bet on that. That would not be my bet at all. I would just try to take this opportunity. I really think they should take this opportunity to try to use this pick. Now, if you can get a Bradley Beal or something, then do that. But I think Darius Garland would be perfect here. I don't know if they're going to do it, but he's going to provide that shooting next to Ingram and Zion Williamson that you would need. I would take Darius Garland all day. Number 5, we have who is picking number 5? Oh, yeah, Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think they should take Cam Reddish. I think Cam Reddish will supply them with the upside that they need. Yes, I have DeAndre Hunter ranked over him. But again, as I said, this is one of the opportunities where I believe you take the worst player and you bet on their potential, you bet on their upside, because we just don't need a guy like DeAndre Hunter. Like, we'll take one, but we just need upside. No one's going to Cleveland. We're going to trade Kevin Love soon, probably. Let's just try to get young players in here. We like Colin Sexton and what he did. Now, a lot of people feel if Darius Garland's available, they should take Darius Garland. I think Darius Garland will be better than Colin Sexton. Although it's going to be very close. But regardless, there's not going to be a big enough difference there, either or, to warrant taking Garland and moving on from Colin Sexton. They cannot play together. Darius Garland is not a 2. I mean, you can put him at the 2, but man, he's going to be an undersized 2. He's not going to be able to defend no Klay Thompson, who's standing at 6'6". No Danny Green standing at 6'6". He's going to struggle immensely at the 2. Only in certain lineups, but definitely not starting and definitely not playing major limits or major minutes at the 2. So, look, I would just sit there and I would take Cam Reddish. Although, even if Garland is available, and you may say, damn, Darius Garland's there, and I'm with you. Damn, it would be good to have Darius Garland. I like Colin Sexton. He improved as the year went on. I think there's a lot to like with Colin Sexton. I really think they should just stick with Colin Sexton. And then in terms of number 6 is the Phoenix Suns. And if Garland's available, they should definitely take him. I'm not a big Kobe White guy. I said it today. I know they need a point guard. And by the way, what's wrong with the Phoenix Suns? Can someone tell me what the hell is wrong with the Phoenix Suns? Apparently, these people are not interested in D'Angelo Russell. Are they out of their freaking minds? I mean, what the hell do you want? Who are you saving your money for? Like, I know you have to re-sign Devin Booker. Maybe they already have, actually. But, what? I mean, you should easily go after D'Angelo Russell. I don't think he'd go to you anyway. But, just try, damn it. Just give it a shot. So they're out of their damn minds. Don't take Kobe White. I don't think he's a starting point guard in the league. If he is, he's just going to be an average starting point guard. I saw nothing extracurricular from him. In college to say he's going to be a very good NBA player. So I would take, Josh Jackson was such a fail. It'd be hard to take a guy like DeAndre Hunter, who has a lot of similarities to him. But I would probably go DeAndre Hunter. I don't know what to tell you. Or if you want to take a risk, okay, and you want to take a Bol. Well, no, you can't take Bol. You already have John Aiden. Do you want to take my boy Rui Hachimura? If that's something that you want to do, I don't know if you would. I like Rui. Brandon Clark also available. Sekou Demboya if you want to bet on that upside. I would just take Cam Reddish if the the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't. So yeah, my ranking would definitely be number 1 Garland if available, number 2 Cam Reddish, number 3 DeAndre Hunter. And then one of them will be available. I guarantee that. So that'd be what I would do. Culver, you just can't take. Shooting guard next to Devin Booker, forget about it, right? You just can't do that. Same with Romeo Langford. And Kobe White, I just think he's good enough. I just don't think he's good enough. And we'll just round out the top 10. Bulls, again, they need a point guard. People think they should take Kobe White. I don't think Kobe White's better than Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn was a better college point guard than your boy. Kobe White to me. Kobe White was actually a pretty damn good college point guard, but Chris Dunn was a better pro prospect. Let me say that, okay? So I just wouldn't go down that road again. If you really don't like Chris Dunn, you really don't like what he did for you, I don't think Kobe White's going to provide you with more than that. So I would stick with my big board there, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, you don't need a power forward. So, apparently they're interested in trading Zach LaVine. I don't know if I would not do that. I would definitely stick with him. And I don't know. You guys have, what's his name? Wendell Carter, too. Who wasn't that impressive, but I think you guys want to hold on to. So I know it's easy to just sit there and take the point guard, Kobe White, but I don't know. I just don't think he's very good. I don't know. I just really wouldn't do it. Maybe Kobe White's really going to come back and kick my ass. And tell me in the chat if you guys like Kobe White, but I don't know. I feel like I would rather sit there and take a guy that's going to come off the bench than over a guy like Kobe White, who I just don't like that much. So maybe you bet on a Jackson Hayes. Maybe you bet on a Bol. Maybe you bet on if we just bring Rui Hamatura off the bench and even play him with Lauri Markkanen or something. Because I don't know. Kobe White just does not get me excited. You need a point guard, absolutely. And if Darius Garland is there, that's your guy. If not, Kobe White, again, I'm just not buying it with Kobe White. And then number 8, Atlanta Hawks. You guys need anything and everything outside of the point guard and power forward positions. So just take the best available of the guys remaining there. And yeah, that's pretty much all you can really do. Washington Wizards, you guys just need the best player available. It doesn't matter the position because you guys may trade Bradley Beal, you guys may trade John Wall. So honestly, if you guys want to go ahead and take a shooting guard, Jarrett Culver, if he falls for some reason, people are higher on Jarrett Culver than I am, so I don't think he will. You guys can take him there. You can bet on a guy like Sekou Demboya, bring him along. Maybe he's your next Giannis Antetokounmpo or something. Okay, go ahead and do that. But the Wizards are a damn disaster, bro. It's ridiculous. And then we have the Hawks again. Again, best player available. And the Hawks will be interesting to see what they do. Young team, definitely. And I think they should package these picks. They have the 8th, 10th, and 17th picks. I think they should definitely package and try to move up in this draft class. Absolutely without a doubt. Although it'd be nice to have these 3 first-round rookies coming in, get some premier talent. That's what I would try to do if you can. I hear number 4 is available. Everyone hears that. I'd go move up for that. Just to try to add another guy to this mix. Now, for who? Maybe you take a bet on a Cam Reddish. Even at number 4, I would consider it heavily. I think that's what you guys could really use. You don't need Darius Garland for sure. Darius Garland, Trae Young, you don't need that. But Cam Reddish would be interesting. And you still suck next year as Cam Reddish, moves along, but you get another high draft pick. So that'd be a road I really consider if I'm the Atlanta Hawks. So that's the top 10. So we've done that. We've done top 10 prospects. Let's get into the Mike Conley trade. And then we'll move on to live Q&A and then we'll leave. So Mike Conley trade. And let me look up the official details of the trade right now. And I'll do that on my phone. That way the stream doesn't lag. I finally realized what makes the stream lag. It's every time I try to browse on the laptop I'm streaming on. So the official details of the Mike Conley trade. And there were actually a lot of details associated with the protections and all of that. We won't really get into that. So the full details of the trade: the Jazz received Mike Conley, and the Grizzlies received Grayson Allen, Kyle Korver, Jay Crowder, the number 23 pick in this draft, and a future first-round pick. And the future first-round pick has a lot of, it's a 2020 first-round pick, but it's protected for the top 7 picks. And also the bottom 16 picks. And then the next year, it's 1 through 6, a whole bunch of crap. Let's not really worry about that. Let's just worry about the players in the pick from this draft. That's what we know. So I thought the Grizzlies should have got more, man. I'm really surprised. Now, I'm sure they were working the phone. Everyone knew Mike Conley was available, which might have been the problem. Because I can't believe this is all you got. Now, Grayson Allen, and let me look up his stats this year, but he didn't do much. Now, he was on a very talented Utah Jazz team playing a position that their best player, Donovan Mitchell, plays, right? So there weren't many minutes to be had for Grayson Allen this season. He averaged 5.6 points, 37% from the field. 37% from the field. Now, we know coming out of college, he was a capable three-point shooter, a guy that gets in your face defensively and all that, and maybe he saw his potential, but really didn't see that last season. Just call it what it is. Kyle Korver is done, okay? Why are we even talking about Kyle Korver? If you're not going to the playoffs, and the Grizzlies are not next year, I'm sorry, I know I have some Grizzlies fans. I have a lot of Titans fans that follow me, and as a result, in association, I have a lot of Grizzlies fans following me as well. some Grizzlies fan, this guy is delusional. Maybe there's some delusional Grizzlies fans in the chat tonight, was trying to tell me that they're going to the playoffs next year. Are you insane? Okay, look, I like John Morant a lot, and I like Jaren Jackson Jr., right? Triple J, that's my bro. Okay, that's my buddy. How the hell you gonna make the playoffs next year? We got the Mavericks improved and better than you, Lakers improved and better than you, Kings still better than you, Warriors, even with Kevin Durant, Clay, better than you, and the Spurs, still better than you, and those are the teams that are going to be battling to make the playoffs. We're not even talking about the best teams in the West. Best teams in the West, we're talking about Denver, Portland, Houston, Utah now. Okay, who you just traded Mike Conley. They just got better. Y'all ain't making the playoffs next year. And the Phoenix Suns, although they are the joke of the NBA, they're going to be better. Okay, I don't know who they're going to draft, but with the maturation of John Hunter, Kelly Oubre should take another step forward. Hopefully Josh Jackson finds himself. They'll be better as well. They'll probably still be bottom of the West, but they'll be better. So, Memphis, why the hell you need Kyle Korver? You don't need no damn Kyle Korver. Come on, dog, Kyle Korver. And then Jay Crowder. Look, I like Jay Crowder. How old is Jay Crowder now? Jay Crowder is now... He's, why does it not say on the little blurb for Wikipedia, 1990. He's 28. Oh, it's actually not that old. I like Jay Crowder, right? 3-and-D type guy, 3-and-D type guys improved his three-point shot lately. He'll give you about 12 points a game. I like Jay Crowder. Okay. And he actually fits in with your roster right now with John Morant, Jaren Jackson. Jay Crowder will start as well. I'm assuming that's all right. But then you get this number 23 pick in this draft. And, I don't ever want to completely discount these picks, but that's nothing in the NBA draft. Like, you could turn that into something, but even the best of players, like even the guys that fall through the cracks, like Kawhi Leonard was drafted, I want to say like 15. Giannis was drafted like 15. It's really hard to find really good players after the 20th pick. Like, it just does not happen. Like, it really does not happen. Like, Donovan Mitchell was like 12. Like, after pick 20, like, we're about done here, guys. Like, that's all, folks. Like, maybe Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma was drafted 28. But, like, that's it. So, that pick won't likely be anything. And then, this future first-round pick, from the protections I saw on it, it will likely actually be a decent pick. The protections make it so that it should be a decent pick as long as the Jazz have a down season at some point. But I'm not sure that the Jazz are going to have a bad season at some point. Because now we'll move on to the Utah Jazz, dude. I think they might be the best team in the West next year, people. First of all, the Jazz, yes, they were the 5th seed in these playoffs. But what was the 5th seed? 50 wins. The 5th seed was 50-30 to the Utah Jazz. The number 1 seed was the Golden State Warriors at 57. That's a 7-game difference. And the Denver Nuggets, right, were 54-28. So there was only a 4-game difference between the Denver Nuggets, who are now, the number 1 seed in everyone's eyes, right? Or maybe the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets are 53 wins. So either a 3 or 4-game difference between the Utah Jazz and the teams everyone is expecting to be the top of the Western Conference next season. And you just gave them Mike Conley. I think the Utah Jazz, and remember, they're still young. Right now, they get older with a Mike Conley, but Rudy Gobert continues to improve. Donovan Mitchell will continue to improve and get more efficient in the NBA. I think the Utah Jazz might be the number 1 team in the Western Conference next season. They might be. I'm not going to go on the record and say they will be, but I think they might be. Now, they're losing Jay Crowder. They're going to miss Jay Crowder, and they're going to miss even the shooting of Kyle Korver a little bit. Well, I don't think averaged that many points this season. I looked that up real quick. But I don't think he averaged that many points last season. You forget about Grayson Allen. He didn't do it much this season anyway. But I like this roster now. You're going to have Mike Conley, the veteran presence, helping to coach along Donovan Mitchell. Okay, that is a very nice combo there. You're going to have Rudy Gobert in the middle just blocking shots. You have Mitchell and Conley hitting three-pointers. All of a sudden, man, this Utah Jazz team is looking really good. Now, they're going to miss Jay Crowder. I think Jay Crowder and that loss will definitely mean that's ever gonna hurt their team. And there will be some losses had because Jay Crowder was not on this team. But I look at this Utah Jazz team right now, and I get excited, man. I think Utah Jazz have a lot to offer next season. They're putting themselves in the Western Conference race, and I don't expect them. I'm sorry, I know I'm still a Laker fan. I'm so high on the Anthony Davis trend. I don't expect them to compete with the Lakers, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James in a playoff series. But in terms of the regular season, oh yeah, they're going to win games in the regular season. They won 50 games last year, people. Don't sleep on that. Now, they need to also figure out about Ricky Rubio and Derek Favors right now, right, with their team. And they're upcoming free agents. So there's still more decisions to be made. But I love the Mike Conley situation. So you forget about Rubio, but Derek Favors did do well this season. He's not like what he once was, but he definitely shot well and, was a very efficient guy for you. And also had some, nice defensive plays as well. So definitely need to figure out the Derek Favors situation. But for Utah, I love it. For Memphis, I thought you should have gotten more. I don't know what everyone's offering, and I'm sure you took the best deal you could. But damn, I'm even surprised the Lakers didn't get involved. Like the Lakers could have offered maybe like well, Lakers couldn't offer anything anymore. But Heat I heard were involved. Miami Heat. If I was the Toronto Raptors, I would have done a Kyle Lowry for Mike Conley. Well, no, the Grizzlies wouldn't want that. Man, I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised. I thought they could have got more than this. I'm not very excited by this. It just ends up, determining who is, who you guys get with these draft picks to make. But that second pick, in this trade, that next pick that's protected, and I'll try to find the protections real quick if I can find it. I just don't think it's going to be a high pick because the Jazz aren't going anywhere with Gobert, Mitchell, and now Conley. And Conley's only 31. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be a good team in the Western Conference for years, so it's only going to be a pick in the 20s again. And I just don't think so. Now forget the protections. It's not that big of a deal. But no, let me try to find it. I think it was on Woj's Twitter. Let's see. Let's see. Grizzlies protection. Hopefully I find it on Twitter. Give me a moment. Oh my god, I'm getting all of this crap that I don't want. That is not telling me. Okay, forget about it. You can look up the protections, but I think if I remember correctly, it was protected for 2020 for picks 1 through 7 and picks 15 through 30. So if the Jazz end up anywhere between 8 and 14, then the Grizzlies get the pick. If not, the next year is protected for, I want to say, the lottery. Then the year after that, I want to say the first 6 picks. But you're not going to get that. So it's just going to be that probably 2021 year. And you're going to get pick 22 or something. Maybe even worse. Because the Jazz are probably going to be one of the best teams in the NBA at that point. 28, 29 or something. I think you really helped out Utah Jazz here. So I'm not really excited about this haul. I thought you could have got better, talked to the Miami Heat or something. I'm just saying, I don't know what was being offered. I just don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. I just thought you guys should have got more of this. I would have talked to Detroit. Maybe you could have got Andre Drummond or something. I think that would have been decent. Andre Drummond for Mike Conley? I would have done it. They give you Reggie Jackson as well or something. I don't know. I just think it should have been more than this. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Mike Conley trade. We'll move on to the chat, and then we will get out of here. So, if you have any questions, NBA related, can be free agency related, can be draft related, but we're keeping it NBA related. Fritziness asks, PJ Washington equals Taj Gibson. I think that's actually a decent comparison. A good modern-day Taj Gibson, a guy that can hit outside shots because Taj Gibson could not, years ago, whereas PJ Washington can coming into the league now. So that's definitely something to look out for. Fritziness also said Garland is Jamal Murray, in my opinion. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comparison. I think he has better handles and he's more of an inside threat, in terms of finesse and finishing at the rim than Jamal Murray is. But I think that's a fair comparison for sure. And you guys agree with me. Kobe White's just okay, but probably wouldn't take number 7. He just no one really sees anything really that high from Kobe White. Let's see. Fraser said they wanted Aaron Holiday and 2 firsts from Indiana and 2 firsts in Kenner from Detroit, so that's why. Well, Detroit should have done that. I don't know what's wrong with Detroit, but if I was Detroit, I would have done that. Because Detroit ain't doing nothing with their first round picks anyway. So they might as well take a shot on Mike Conley. Atlanta fan says, oh yeah, and by the way, I forgot to mention this, and Tristan S had a good point. Corbin might get bought out, probably, and that's fine. But why are you trading? Okay, why are you trading Mike Conley just to buy out some damn contracts? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you gotta get, they should have got a first round pick that's not gonna be in the 20s. Like, if you would have told me in the 10s, okay, fine. I'm actually a little excited by that. In this draft, you can take Romeo Langford, high upside. He could maybe end up starting next to John Moran, who just likes a nice shooting guy, and we're talking. But now, what are we talking about here? Maybe they drafted an all-star at number 23. I'm going to eat my words, but it just doesn't happen enough in this league. Like Jesse Lende said, Pascal Siakam. I mean, Siakam was 27. Kyle Kuzma was 28. Who else has been in the 20s? There's been other players, but it's just so hard. It's so rare. You're just going to end up drafting Furkan Korkmaz. Or you're going to end up drafting Mo Wagner. Or you're going to end up drafting Josh Hart. Like, you're probably not going to get anybody. It's just not that exciting picking in the 20s. And yes, Atlanta Fan 21, I have my final mock draft up tomorrow. Atlanta Fan 21 also says, Jazz need Mitchell to become bona fide superstar if they're going to be a top team. If not, they don't have star power. Yeah, but, Mitchell is in his second year. So I still give him that, plenty of time to become that absolute star. So he definitely got to take that step forward. And they're going to need to get another star in there, too. I think, Conley and Mitchell is not enough to win an NBA championship. But maybe, I don't know who's going to become a free agent in, like, the next 2 years or something. Maybe Kawhi Leonard's crazy and he talks to them or something, And then all of a sudden the Utah Jazz are really, really, really good. JJ says, do you think the Lakers could end up trading Kyle Kuzma? I doubt it. And if they do, they're idiots. The conversation around this, and I've talked about this extensively, so sorry to get back to this. But I don't know why everyone keeps saying the Lakers need a third star. The Lakers need a third star. Now, Kuzma's not a star. But even with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma's going to give you 16 a game. He will. I guarantee he's going to give you 16 a game. Guarantee, at least. I still say probably 17, 18 because he just can't sit on the floor and not, be aggressive offensively. That's his move. So they don't need another star. They already have their 3 scorers right there. They're already getting 70 points from those guys a night. Okay, just, fill out the rest of your lineup. You don't need to trade Kuzma for another star. It's ridiculous to me. Kuzma, I'd rather have Kuzma and, let's say, Danny Green and Patrick Beverley than just Kemba Walker. I'd rather have those 3 than that one. 100%. It's not even close. It's not even close. And just ask the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, I like Kemba Walker, but just ask the Charlotte Hornets. Jesse Lende also says, which young team has the best future? Ooh, the Pelicans, Mavericks, or the Kings? I got to go right now. I got to go Mavericks. Because Mavericks, Kristaps, and Luka, wow. I mean, that's just the best duo right there. If we're ranking all the players right now from all of those teams, number 1 is Kristaps, and number 2 is Luka. And by the way, Luka might be number 1 next year. Luka might surpass Kristaps Porzingis next year. So, from there, the third best, I'd even say next year would probably be Zion. I think even Zion's going to be better than Brandon Ingram next year. And then it would be, De'Aaron Fox might be over Zion. Maybe. And even that, I pause. Who's going to be better next year? What do you guys think? Zion or De'Aaron Fox next year? That's interesting. I think Zion's going to come in and average 20 in this league. I'll give the slightest to Fox. But then you got Fox, and then you got Zion, and then to me you got Brandon Ingram, and then you got Buddy Hield. Because I think Ingram, he just does more than Buddy Hield right now. Ingram is more than just a scorer, whereas Buddy Hield is just a scorer. So yeah, so I'd say Mavs have the best future because they're the best duo, and that's really all you need. But that depends on health on Kristaps Porzingis because his health is still in question. I'll be right back to get my charger, and then we'll continue. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, so in order of rankings, I say Mavericks 1, and then Kings or Pelicans. Better future. The Kings need a third guy. Hell, they need like a star, really, if they're ever going to really contend. And Fox, I think, is actually going to be an all-star, but they're going to need someone else. Like, De'Aaron Fox right now is what John Wall was in a lot of ways. He's a better three-point shooter. I mean, I'm not really talking about in terms of players. I'm talking about impact. Like, right now, in terms of impact, De'Aaron Fox is what John Wall was. But John Wall only ended up taking, Washington so far. Not even to the conference finals. Once. So, be careful. So, I'd have to go Pelicans and then Kings. And I like the Kings. I really do like the Kings. I'm a big fan of De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield, but they're going to need more because, like I said, they're just right now, they're like the Washington Wizards East, or West, I should say. Washington Wizards West, right? They're the triple W. They're WWW. They're going to need to do a better job than the Wizards did, and they're starting off better because they have Willie Cauley-Stein, whereas the Wizards had, an aging Nene and Marcin Gortat for too many years. And then they drafted Otto Porter, but he never developed. Whereas you guys, you guys got Harrison Barnes, but now it looks like he's probably out of there, and we'll see about that situation. So it's interesting, but I like the Kings moving forward. I like all those teams moving forward. The West is just a problem, man. The West is hard. I like the East. The East is improving, but even the worst teams in the West are still better than the average teams in the East. Like, we're talking about the Pelicans, Mavericks, and the Kings. All three teams will be battling for the playoffs next season. The Pelicans won't make it. I'll tell you that right now. I don't think the Kings will either. And the Kings are, you would think, that they're on the trajectory to do so. But with the Lakers jumping up, with the Mavericks jumping up, not going to happen. And no one's going to Sacramento that I know of right now. Atlanta Fan 21 asks, what do you think the ceiling is for Trae Young and John Collins? Now, it's interesting for me. I would have liked to have seen them win more games this year. They're young, right? So I want to give them time. Don't get me wrong. And I like John Collins coming out of college, actually. I thought he was going to be a double-double guy at this level, and he's proven to be that coming out of Wake Forest. I liked him. So I like it, but, again, you're going to need more. The ceiling for them is, at least the conference, they can definitely make the playoffs and do a lot of things. Trae Young, let's start with that case with him individually. I mean, is he the next Stephen Curry? Because he could be. I mean, we don't need to doubt that, people. I mean, Stephen Curry, coming out, they have a lot of similarities. Now, it took Stephen Curry 6 years, about 5-6 years before he became MVP candidate, guy that could take his team to the playoffs. But, man, in fact, Trae Young's rookie year better than Stephen Curry rookie year. Let me look up the stat comparison real quick between those two. Stephen Curry rookie year, Stephen Curry didn't do nothing he was good. I mean, we knew he was a good point guard, but he really didn't do anything for 3 years. Before we're like, oh, okay, this is a damn good point guard. I feel like Stephen Curry year 3 might be Trae Young year 1. That's what I feel just off the top of my head. Let's look up the stats to try to back that up. So Stephen Curry rookie year averaged 17, second year 18, third year 14. And he did so on shooting of 46, 48, and 49% each. 3-point percentage, though, was 44, 44, and 45% each. So Stephen Curry was just crazy efficient right from the get-go, whereas Trae Young definitely was not. And also, let me check out what was Steph's rebounds and assists. He averaged about, even with the worst efficiency, he had a better rookie season than Stephen Curry did. So that's something to consider. That's something to look out for. But I like what we're talking about. Jesse Lende says F in the chat. Did the stream die? Let me check real quick. It shouldn't have. Oh snap! I guess it did. Oh no, no, the stream's good on my end. Maybe it cut out and maybe it's back now. Anyway, but yeah, I'm definitely looking out for them. And John Collins, I need to watch more John Collins to be quite honest with you. The Atlanta Hawks were not a very compelling story this year, so I didn't see his improvement from year one to year two in as much totality as I would wish. But I like John Collins quite a bit. I think they can definitely be a team that can rise to being like just with those two right now, sixth seed in the East, maybe fifth. But in order to take that next step, you're going to need that third guy for sure. So what do we have here? Yeah, JJ says Zion will come in and average like 22, then just build up. 22 is a little high, especially for this Pelicans team because you're going to get 20 plus from Jrue Holiday. Right now, Jrue Holiday is going to feel like I have to put everything on my back. He's going to give you like 21, let's say. Ingram's going to continue to take a step forward. He's going to give you 20 next year. We already got 40. Could then we bring in Zion? I think Zion's going to give you 20. Probably have him down for like 19 or 20. And they're very efficient. Like he's going to shoot over 60%. Zion Williamson because and I didn't talk about this earlier, but he's very calculated in the shots that he takes. He's very efficient. Very very calculated, very meticulous. He's not going to take bad shots. He's going to shoot inside. 3-pointers, he's going to take him. He's wide open. So he's going to shoot very well. I think he's going to be 19 or 20. 22 is a little bit high for me. But if he does, then man, the hype will only continue from there. Jesse Lende says if Marvin Bagley gets better defensively, he'll be a future All-Star. And yes, I forgot about Marvin Bagley actually. Yeah, Bagley, that's another part of the mix for the Kings for sure. And that's why there's reasons to like the Kings. The question is he going to be a star? I think De'Aaron Fox will be an All-Star, but he's not going to be a superstar. I don't think. He's going to be John Wall max, right? I compare him a lot to John Wall coming out of Kentucky. And I see a lot of comparisons continuing for those two. So that's the question between those two. We'll see how that story develops. But the Kings are very interesting for sure. JJ says, how good do you think DeAndre Ayton will be? I think he'll be very good. People keep disrespecting DeAndre Ayton because he didn't, put up the headlines that Luka Doncic or Trae Young did. But, dude, he gave you 16 and 10. And he shot well. He shot like 50% from the field. So this is still a very good center in the NBA, a guy that's going to continue to improve. The problem is he just got overshadowed by Luka Doncic and Trae Young. But I still really like DeAndre Ayton, and I really like him a lot. And that's why it shocks me that the Suns couldn't win more games because, you had Ayton performing well. You had Devin Booker performing well, and yet they just could not score points consistently. And did my stream? Yeah, okay, no, it did. And yet they just could not win games at all. They won like 19 games. Doesn't make any sense with DeAndre Ayton putting up the numbers he was putting in and Devin Booker putting the numbers he was putting in. But then you look at the other players on the team and they're ass, right? They didn't get anything from anyone else. Maybe your boy T.J. Warren was about it because Josh Jackson has just been such a damn bust. I'm so disappointed in Josh Jackson. Traded for Kelly Oubre, but, he didn't do enough for them. So they have a lot of work to do, and their coach was a disaster. The Suns stink. But, and then they didn't even get a good role in the lottery this time either. So the Suns are a disaster. But I think DeAndre Ayton will be very good. All-Star, I think so. I think he'll be an All-Star player. It's hard because he's not a shooter. We look for, 3-point shooting centers and bigs to be All-Stars nowadays. But, I really do think he's going to be an All-Star player in this league. PLT Productions asks, how do the Hornets ever contend? What will they need to do? Well, y'all starting over. When you're getting rid of Kemba Walker, that's a concession. That's a concession saying we're starting over. Now, I feel bad for you because you guys drafted Malik Monk, and let me look up his stats from this season. But, this guy has not been what I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be another Bradley Beal. I thought he was going to be a 20-plus point per game scorer in the NBA. Now, I did not think he was going to be an all-star. Let me say that. But I thought he was going to be a very good and, high-scoring shooter in the NBA. I knew he was skinny. But I thought he was going to put on some weight and do some things. And this year he averaged 8, 2, and 1. And what's his shooting? He shot 39% field goal percentage, 33% three-point percentage. So, maybe he improves in the future, but 2 years, man, that's already a lot of time being given to you in order to improve. So, that's frustrating. So, outside of that, man, the cupboard's bare. You're still paying Nicholas Batum too much money for nothing. He's still an all right player, but not enough for that. Michael Gilchrist, he's still a complete joke, who's still somehow on your team and will somehow be on your team longer than Kemba Walker. And let me look up y'all's salary cap table. But, I would just I would just sell the damn, just sell house, right? Just open house. Who do you want? Let's just start this thing over, man. It's just a shame. I would have re-signed Kemba. In fact, I talked to him tomorrow and I re-signed him because, man, without him, y'all are just nothing. And I think you can rebuild with him, honestly. But it's going to need a rebuild. Like, y'all paying, the most money y'all paying, these are your highest paid players. Nicholas Batum, Bismack Biyombo, Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Are you kidding me? Sorry, man. Your team stinks. Seriously. And the only reason you guys won as much games as you did is because of Kemba Walker. So, okay, fine. You let Kemba walk and then just stink for the next 5 years. I just don't see any other way. I think actually some players might consider going to Charlotte because, they have a nice stadium. They have Michael Jordan as owner. So you might get a free agent or two within that 5-year stretch. But, yeah, bro, you're going to have to tank. Right? It's time to trust the process in Charlotte. Okay. And JJ asked, who's your most improved player? It's got to be D'Angelo Russell to me. Pascal Siakam's right there, too. He's right there, too. But he's not an all-star, whereas D'Angelo Russell is an all-star. So for him to go from the joke he was in L.A. to becoming an all-star and leading the Brooklyn Nets to the playoffs, he's my most improved player this year. But Pascal Siakam is a very close number 2. So any final questions before I leave out of here? And then I'll have my mock draft up tomorrow. And then I'll try to go live for the draft. But if not, I'll definitely be here for post-draft grades. And then we will do that. So any final questions before I get out of here? If not, then I'll go ahead and go on my way. Let me see if there's anything that I missed. No, I think I pretty much got everything. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't seem like it. So there you go, guys. That is my overall. Okay, one last question. Here we go. JJ asks, do you think Nikola Jokic will average 25 points per game? No. This year, what he averaged? 20? Maybe 21? Let me see what he averaged. I don't think he's going to average 20, 25. 25 is too much. He doesn't want to. He's like Jon Snow. I don't want it. Okay? He doesn't. Yeah, he averaged 20. Jokic is not the guy to take, too many shots. He just, stays within his very high role. It's a damn good role. But, oh my God, I think I know who that is. Is that Jamie Milam in the chat right now? Is that Jay Dizzle? Shout out to the personal finance team. I think my friend from high school just entered the chat. But, yeah, so Jokic, even though the Nuggets could use some more scoring, I don't think he's going to provide that. He's going to continue to move the ball, continue to give the ball to Jamal Murray and Malik Beasley and Michael Porter Jr. if he comes back healthy. And is Isaiah Thomas still? No, he's an upcoming free agent. But, yeah, I think he's going to continue to move the ball around. So I think he'll go up to 22 or 23, but 25 is too much of a stretch. Yo, what's up, Jamie? How's it going on? You just caught me just as I was leaving. Unfortunately, I'm just ending up and finishing up the stream now. But I hope everything's good on your end. And PLT Productions asks a final question. This will be the last question that I answer tonight. Where does Kemba Walker go? And that's the question right now. He wants to go back to Charlotte, but Charlotte doesn't want him. And it's pretty obvious at this point because if they're going to extend him, they would have done it already. I think if the Lakers can free up the money, I think he'd go there, but I don't think that he will. I think that they will, actually, that they'll be able to free up the cap space. I don't think he'll go there. And I don't know what he wants. I think he wants to win games, so I think he'll prioritize the Clippers over a team like the Knicks. But I last read that the Clippers aren't interested in point guards because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which I think is a mistake if Kemba Walker's trying to talk to you. Although I do like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think if Kemba Walker wants to go to you, you take Kemba Walker. So if you ask me today, and you do, the Dallas Mavericks, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard enough. But I'll say the Dallas Mavericks. I think the Mavericks stick in there and get it. Maybe Miami Heat as well. Miami Heat need a point guard. So I think one of those dark horses, if you will. But I think the Lakers, if they can open up the space, I think it'll go to one of those teams. So definitely look out for that. So there you go. This has been my 2019 NBA draft preview. Those are my top 10 prospects, my thoughts on the draft. What are your thoughts? Comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video and the live stream, tell me, like the video, favorite, all that good stuff, and make sure to stick around and subscribe. Until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.